Ladies and gentlemen, at the top of this hour, our focus is on the horrific car crash in Dehradun that has grabbed the attention of the nation, especially on social media. The tragic road accident that happened earlier this week claimed the lives of 6 young individuals, all under the age of 25, after their SUV collided at high speed with a truck. Initial probe findings have now suggested the truck driver was not at fault. In fact, a comparison of the CCTV footage of the two vehicles involved have convinced police that while the truck was driving in a very stable speed, the Innova car with the 7 youth on board was being piloted rashly. While the tragedy has left families devastated, they are yet to file a formal complaint. According to reports, the group of 7 friends were returning from a party that night and were drunk. A disturbing video of the incident is doing rounds on social media, which shows the impact of the collision was so strong that it tore off the Toyota Innova's roof and twisted it. 2 passengers were left decapitated in the incident. The visuals also show one of the victims' head ripped off, while another person's body can be seen twisted inside the crushed car. Several other body parts of the victims are also seen scattered around the road. I'm being joined at this point by Kushan Mitra, who's an automotive journalist. Thank you very much, Mr. Mitra, for joining us. Good evening. It's an absolutely horrific incident that has happened. It's left not only families in despair, but everybody who has heard, seen this story is absolutely mortified, is horrified. It's just so worrisome that every now and then you have an incident of, whether it be drunken driving or just speeding, this is just on repeat mode.
Well, it is very tragic indeed. I mean, and you're very correct. Every now and then there's always one that grabs the headlines. It seems to constantly happen. Of course, you were talking about the horrific visuals of the accident, but there are also visuals of these youth before that accident quite clearly at a party and enjoying themselves. The problem is, at the end of the day, a lack of enforcement. People find it very easy to go around driving drunk. If they weren't driving drunk, we wouldn't be talking about this. If the police enforce the rules, the laws already in place, so there should be more enforcement. Young people will be young people. They will party. They will do stupid things. And that's why we need more enforcement of drunken driving laws.
Kushan Mitra, it's also important, in today's era, a lot of focus is spent on ensuring that we buy cars that have the 5-star rating when it comes to safety. People research, people buy cars that are definitive of that, and yet that alone will never make sense. And this is yet another incident. High-end cars with best of the safety features that really anyone could have asked for, and yet the speed at which they were driving, nothing really could have put the safety barricades in place.
No, nothing could have. Cars are tested, whether it's Bharat NCAP or Global NCAP. Cars are tested at 64 kilometers per hour into a barrier. A car can be 5-star rated at 64 kilometers per hour, but at speeds of over 100, as you know, we don't know for sure what speed this accident took place at, so that's just speculation. But I've seen some of the CCTV footage. This car was clearly going very, very fast. We don't know if the passengers in the car were belted in, if they were popping out of the sunroof. I mean, looking at some of those injuries, you have to also, as a passenger or the person driving a car, take care of your own safety, right? You have to drive within the limits of a vehicle. If a car is safety tested at 64 kilometers per hour, drive under 60, and that's the speed limit. Wear your seat belts. I don't know at the speeds these kids were going. I don't know if any car could have saved their lives. Just looking at some of the visuals were just horrifying, and I feel horrible for the families. But I mean, these things will continue to happen without a lack of enforcement. There's no car that can be built um, to protect against stupidity, I guess.
Kushal Mitra, at the risk of being repetitive, I guess it's just so important to drive this point as this accident has unfolded. Let's just look at the lapses, and you could add to my list. You could explain the lists: the speeding, the angle of speeding, possibility of drunken driving, um, possibility of we don't know what was the age of the people who were involved in this, but so many other angles as well that were involved in this.
No, I believe the drivers were of legal driving age. Um, but again, it comes down essentially to a lack of enforcement, whether it is drunken driving, whether it is speeding. If people are not afraid to do, you're over here, I'm here reading details on your screen about this car being a brand new car that didn't even have registration numbers. So, the police have to be around at all times. Um, People are speeding on the roads. From reports I have read, they were apparently racing another car, whether voluntarily or involuntarily, on the other car's behalf. But there has to be more enforcement. In some cities, enforcement is very strict. Places like Mumbai, for example, or even to an extent in Gurugram, where the police are out there checking for drunken driving. There are lots of also speed cameras. And this has to spread across the country, even to tier two cities like Dehradun. The police have to be out there at night. Young people, as I've said, will be young people. They will do stupid things. But if there is enforcement, if there is a fear of the law, fear of, losing your license for a year, or fear of even jail, as in Mumbai, they were doing for a while for drunken driving, only then will people correct their habits. And people have to be afraid of the law. And the law has to be enforced everywhere.
Kushal Mitra, we are also at a time India has literally surged across the countries globally when it comes to the number of accidents on the road. Do you want to just spend a minute talking about drunken driving? Because listen, none of us are against children, youngsters, adults, elderly, whatsoever, anybody enjoying themselves. You want to go out, have fun, have that drink, it's your choice. Anybody can do that at any point of time. What must one do after that? This is so repetitive. But look at the tragedies that have been unfolding every single time, whether it be Pune, whether it be Mumbai, whether it be this incident. Kushal Mitra.
Simply put, you shouldn't drive when intoxicated. There are rules. There should be more checking, but you have to take care of yourselves, right? Your reaction times as a driver are slower when you're intoxicated, whether that's alcohol or any other narcotic you might be taking. Young people nowadays do a lot more than just alcohol. Your driving is impaired. And when you have to make a split second decision, like in this case, had the driver possibly not been drunk, he could have avoided the truck because he just hit the rear corner of the truck. One more second or even half a second earlier, had he turned the car, he might have avoided the truck. It could have been,
How sad.
yeah, it could have been just that, right? It could have just missed the truck by. I think you've seen the images of the truck. They've hit literally the rear corner of the truck. One more second, and they could have lived. And that's just it. So I think you have to be aware of your own
Kushan,
life. Mhm. Yeah, tell me.
Kushan, there's also this whole thing about people
Mhm.
debating that what is drunken driving? That there are some who argue that there are certain levels that's permissible, and we can drunk with, we can have some sips, we can have a beer, and we can still we can still drive because that's permissible according to law. What is
There
this
is
about?
that is defined in every state. I think it is 30 ml per deciliter. I don't know the exact status, but I believe you can have a beer or a
Sure.
couple of glasses of wine, was one small drink. You will not cross the limit. I mean, of course, it depends on number of hours also, right? I mean, if you can drink at have a drink at 8 o'clock and then drive a car at 11 o'clock, you might be fine. So every state has its limits, but today we live in a time when there is an option. You have your smartphone, you can order a taxi in most parts of the country. Again, these kids were apparently out on a joyride. They weren't, going home or anything like that. But you have to be aware of, as you said, cars can be 5-star rated, but they will not account for bad driving. They won't account for, the behavior of the person behind the wheel. Um, there's, the drunken
Kushan
driving
Mitra,
is.
while a lot is going to be spoken about this accident, the truth is also not much is going to be spoken about the cops who were not on their duty. The cops who should have been there on the roads, the cops who should have been taking the rounds, they were not there at any point, or if they were, the action was not taken, the surveillance wasn't strong. Of course, the onus cannot be on them alone, but they are also stakeholders in this.
Yeah, yeah. As I said, the very start, enforcement has to happen. People have to be scared of the law. The rules are already there. There are rules for drunken driving. There are, defined. There are, laws for speeding. These kids are driving very, very fast. Are there enough speeding cameras in Dehradun? I don't know. I've not been to that side for a while. Should this have been caught? I mean, these guys weren't even, driving a car with a registration number. I said earlier, some cities do it better than others. Mumbai and Gurugram, where they have people out there checking for drunken driving, checking for speeding. But of course, this has to spread across the country from north to south, east to west. In cities, police have to be there. Yeah, you want to take a car and have a joyride at night. You want to go from Delhi, you want to go to Murthal for a paratha, but don't drive drunk. And
Right.
that has to be hammered in. I think we need to spend more time in our schools and colleges as well, teaching youngsters uh, just some simple rules of driving and taking care of their own lives. I mean, you want to be a thrill seeker for sure, but I mean, imagine the poor guy driving this car. Five of his friends also died in this accident. And as I said, they also did other things. They may not have been wearing their seat belts. I mean, they were thrown from the cars. Seeing some of the injuries, they might have been standing out of the sunroof. If you lose your head, so
That's true. I
don't
think all of
do
that
it.
is also going to come out as the
Yeah,
probe continues. Kushan Mitra, thank you very much for your time. It's been a very
thank you.
important discourse. And not just for our youngsters, I'm sure educating and intervention will also save a lot of adult lives as well. I mean, this menace is really across the spectrum for that matter. Mr. Mitra, thank you so much for your time.